I stood there in the pouring rain, shovel in my hand, watching clumps of wet dirt thud onto my brother Ben's coffin like they were sealing away every lie he'd ever told. The whole family was huddled under black umbrellas, sobbing for the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. Mom was clutching Dad's arm like she might collapse. Sophia, Ben's wife, was perfectly composed in her designer coat, and my own wife, Jessica, kept squeezing my hand like we were still some perfect team. That's when I felt it, a quick brush against my jacket pocket. I turned, but whoever slipped the note in the small envelope was already melting back into the crowd. Later, alone in my truck with the heater blasting, I pulled it out. The handwriting was shaky but clear. You need to know about your brother, his wife, and your child. Inside the envelope were 4 photos that punched the air out of my lungs. The first was Ben and Jessica in a hotel room I recognized, her laughing with her head on his chest. The second, a time-stamped shot of them kissing in the parking lot behind my company's warehouse. The third was our son Tommy at his last birthday, standing next to Ben. Same dimple, same jawline, same everything. The last was a printed DNA report. 99.99% probability that Ben was the father. Sophia had signed the bottom in red ink. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. He took everything from both of us. My name is Alex, 37 years old. I've spent my whole life being the reliable one, the quiet fixer nobody ever thanked. While Ben was out charming clients and posting vacation pics, I was the one who started the family construction company at 23, worked 80-hour weeks, and quietly paid for everything. Ben's wedding, Mom's hip surgery, even the down payment on the house Jessica and I lived in. They all treated me like the supporting character. "Why can't you loosen up like your brother?" Dad would say at every holiday dinner. Mom would laugh and pat Ben's back while I sat there picking at my food. Jessica used to roll her eyes when I came home late, saying I cared more about spreadsheets than family. Small cuts every year, until I stopped noticing the bleeding. But this wasn't small. This was my brother, my own blood, sleeping with my wife for God knows how long, raising my son as his side project, and dying before I could even look him in the eye. And Sophia? She'd known. She'd sat across from me at Thanksgiving last year, smiling while she passed the turkey, knowing Tommy wasn't mine. The humiliation wasn't just the cheating. It was that every single one of them had watched me play the fool and never said a word. They needed my money, my silence, my endless patience. So they kept the secret and kept cashing the checks. I didn't scream. I didn't punch the dashboard. I just sat there until the rain stopped, feeling something inside me click into place like a lock turning. The hurt was still there, raw and ugly, but underneath it was this cold, crystal-clear calm I'd never felt before. No more fixing, no more carrying. The next morning, I drove straight to the lab and handed them Tommy's toothbrush and my own cheek swab. I already knew what it would say, but I needed the paper in my hand. While I waited, I called my lawyer, same guy who'd drawn up the company papers 10 years ago. See, when I started the business, I kept 70% of the shares in my name. Ben got 10% because he was family and it looked good on paper. He ran day-to-day operations, sure, but every major account, every loan, every payroll ran through me. I'd never flexed it, never needed to, until now. 3 days later, the results came back. Not a match, not even close. I sat in my kitchen staring at the page while Jessica made coffee like nothing had changed. I slid the DNA report across the table next to the hotel photos. She went white, started crying, the whole "it was a mistake, we were gonna tell you" script. I just looked at her and said, "Pack a bag. The house is in my name. You've got 30 days. No yelling, no drama, just facts." That's when the phones started exploding.
First, it was Jessica's mom blowing up my cell. "How could you throw her out with a child?" I texted back the DNA report and stopped answering. Then Mom called, voice shaking. "Alex, we're family. We can work through this." I told her the monthly allowance I'd been wiring to their retirement account, $6,000 for the last 8 years, would end at midnight. Click. Dad left a voicemail begging, saying they'd lose the condo. I deleted it. Sophia called next. Her voice was quieter than I expected. "I gave you the note because he lied to me too. I thought you deserved to know." I believed her, but it didn't change anything. I told her the life insurance payout Ben had left her was hers, but the company car and the health insurance I'd been covering under the family plan, canceled, effective tomorrow. She started to cry. I hung up. The group chat, the one with all the aunts, uncles, and cousins, went nuclear. Screenshots of my texts started flying. Old friends who'd always worshipped Ben suddenly messaged me privately. "Man, we had no idea." Some of them unfollowed Jessica on everything. Others started tagging me in old photos like they were rewriting history. I didn't reply to any of it. I just sat back and watched the power shift in real time. Inside, I had my moments. Late at night, I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder if I'd been blind on purpose. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I made it easy for them. But then I'd remember the way Ben smirked at me during last year's Christmas dinner, the way Jessica's hand lingered on his shoulder a second too long, and the doubt would burn off like fog. They didn't stumble into this. They built it, and I had spent my whole life letting them because I thought that's what family meant. I met with the company accountant on Friday. We restructured the org chart in 45 minutes. Ben's office was cleared out, his parking spot reassigned. The 2 project managers who'd covered for his long lunch meetings with Jessica got polite severance packages and a reminder that HR now had the hotel receipts. By Monday, the whole building knew. Nobody said a word to me. They just nodded when I walked past. Jessica served me papers first, trying to get alimony and custody. My lawyer laughed. The prenup we signed before Tommy was born had an infidelity clause I'd insisted on. She got the car she paid for herself and whatever she could carry. I kept the house, the business, and the savings. Tommy. God, that one still stings. I loved that kid with everything I had. But he's not mine. Biologically, he's Ben's. I told Jessica I'd sign over any visitation rights if she wanted to raise him around her new reality. She hasn't called since. The parents tried one last time last week, showed up at my door with a casserole like that would fix 15 years of being invisible. I didn't let them in, just stood on the porch and said, "You chose the wrong son a long time ago. I'm done paying for that mistake." Mom cried. Dad looked old for the first time. I closed the door softly. I'm not rich in some flashy way now. I'm just free. I sold a chunk of the company shares to a partner who actually respects deadlines, took the cash and put half in a trust for Tommy's college, anonymous through my lawyer. The other half I'm using to disappear for a while. New city, new phone, new everything. Sophia texted once saying she understood. I didn't answer. They thought the quiet one would keep carrying the weight forever, that I'd stay loyal, stay silent, stay useful. Turns out I didn't have to destroy them. I just stopped shielding them from the consequences of their own choices.